So I've been receiving a lot of questions about how to fix bare spots after winter or dog damage that might have happened. So today let's talk about 2 easy methods that you can use to fix these spots in your yard. So for those of us with cool season grass, Kentucky Bluegrass, perennial ryegrass, tall fescue, a lot of this is grown from seed most of the time. Tall fescue and perennial ryegrass specifically do not spread laterally. Kentucky Bluegrass is different in that it does spread. The warm season grasses will also spread on their own. And a lot of the time the warm season grasses are a little easier because we can actually use a plug of your existing lawn somewhere and put it somewhere else. But let's go over the seeding part first for those of you who want to understand how to seed a bare spot. So this tool right here, you definitely don't have to have. You can use pretty much anything to remove the old dead grass. If you have to do this process over and over, I would maybe suggest getting one of these because it's a really nice rake to have. Let me show you how it works. On this side we have these straight tines here, and this is going to help to remove and rip out all of that dead grass. On this other side, it's got some curved sort of tines, and this is to cultivate to put the seed back in. So think of like a row planter or something. That will help us after we put down the seed to put that into the ground sort of in rows, and it also just helps to break up the soil too. Alright, so using that edge with the straight tines, I'm just going to remove all this dead stuff. You could do this really with any sort of rake system that you have that would pull out all this dead stuff, but no matter what, you need to get the soil exposed. Okay, so now you have that pretty well cleaned out. It doesn't have to be completely free of all this. This will actually help to hold some of the seed in place. But now you have sort of a hard ground there. You need to get that broken up slightly so that you can get some seed into it, and there's really good seed to soil contact there. Now another method you could use would be to add some fresh topsoil on here. If you want some loose soil, just throw a slight layer on there. That would be perfectly fine. So now whatever grass seed you want to use is sort of up to you. If you have something that can match your existing lawn, that would be absolutely ideal for you. If you don't, then you can go to the store, get something. I use all of these really high-end grass seeds in my yard, so you can check that out on my website if you want to see what I'm using. But this is a Kentucky Bluegrass perennial ryegrass mix. And now all I want to really do is spread this out, not too heavily. I don't want it overcrowding in here, so just very lightly. That should give you an idea about how much seed I have on there. Alright, now I'm going to just lightly rake this in with that curved side here. Again, if you don't have this tool, use any rake to just lightly rake this in. So you just want the seed covered up just slightly. Does not need to be much. You don't want to bury it in the ground. And from here, I want to make sure that I have good seed to soil contact, meaning the seed is pushed into the soil not too heavily, but that there's good contact there. So just a few light pats, not compacting it down too much. And then I would like to cover this with something so that the seed doesn't get taken by any birds or anything like that, and you have a little extra something on top to hold some moisture there. So this right here is peat moss, but if you did have topsoil, you could sprinkle some topsoil over top of this. I like this because it holds moisture better. There's no weed seeds in here or anything to deal with that. You can get this at pretty much any store too, and I just sprinkle. You don't want to go too heavy because again, you don't want the seed buried, but this will hold moisture on top of it a lot better. You can also definitely put on some starter fertilizer if you'd like to. I'd recommend that. So put on some starter fertilizer probably before you put that peat moss on. I forgot to do that, but either way, you could put some on top here now and water it in. That's fine too. So a couple things to remember here with seeding is you have to keep that seed from drying out. So and then however long it takes for that seed to germinate, For the ryegrass that's in there, it's probably going to be a much shorter time than some of the bluegrass. This also depends on your soil temperatures, which it's spring, so soil temperatures are lower. That can take longer for germination, so you need to keep up with your watering on that spot. Do not let it dry out. Don't go too crazy to where it's all soggy, but you need to make sure it's not drying out completely. The second quick thing to remember is if you put down any crabgrass pre-emergent or a pre-emergent product, then you have to make sure that you're really breaking up that soil. Or if you were just about to put down crabgrass pre-emergent, then do not put any down in that spot because it will prevent the seed from coming up as well. The next method is actually taking a plug of your own lawn that you have and putting it into the bare spot, or a few of them if the bare spot is big enough. Now this only works for grasses that spread. So for cool season grass, we have Kentucky Bluegrass. Some of the fine fescues are spreading, but most people don't have that as a full yard. So let's talk about Kentucky Bluegrass. That spreads by rhizomes under the ground. So the plant starts shooting out these rhizomes off the side of the plant, comes up through the soil and starts growing another plant. So we can take a plug of our existing Kentucky Bluegrass and place it into another area and let it spread. Same thing happens with warm season grasses, but a lot of them grow on the top of the soil by what's called stolons. These will spread on top of the soil, put down roots, grow another plant, keep spreading, put down more roots, and grow another plant. So Bermuda, Zoysia, St. Augustine, if you have something like that, then taking a plug of that soil and putting it into another bare area will be your best bet. So I just bought this tool and it's called a Pro Plugger. So what this does is allow me to take a plug out of the soil, place it into an area that I want that to spread. And so I just took one here. Pretty much you'd want to go take one in an inconspicuous area if possible, but just for the purposes of this, I just took one out of the ground here. So I've got my Kentucky Bluegrass plug like this. So I'm going to take this tool right here, take out a plug, replace it with this. So simply take this plug here, put it in like that. I'm gonna put something around it just to hold it in place. So if you have a spreading grass, you can see it's very easy to take plugs from another area of your lawn and put it into some of those bare spots. Now the same sort of thing applies here. You need to make sure that things don't dry out too much because you did transplant that actual plug of grass. So it does need to keep some water on it, but it's not exactly like seed because you can water this existing thing a little heavier and there's not as much risk of any of the seed washing away, stuff like that. So I like this plug method if you have a spreading type grass. It works awesome. Now you're probably going to ask, how long will it take for it to spread into that spot? And warm season grasses, if you are in your season like midsummer and you're transplanting something, it could spread very quickly. Bermuda especially would be a grass that spreads very, very quickly. So you are in luck with that. With Kentucky Bluegrass, slightly slower, but I'm going into my sort of spring flush season here where bluegrass will spread pretty aggressively too. Again, you can fertilize these areas with some starter fertilizer if you want to, or you can use your other just regular fertilizer program and just keep up with your watering. Everything should go well and you'll have these bare spots fixed in no time. Thanks so much for watching this video. We'll see you next time.